It's time for the next part in this series on the TopRc Model Odyssey. Let's do this. All right, so we're getting ready to start running some wiring, preliminary wiring through the fuse. And we're going back to the elevators and the rudder in the back. So I got to figure out where I want to run these, but we got to be careful not to get it up against that thrust tube and stay away from the heat. So what we're going to use in there from McMaster-Carr is some of this 3/8 insulated convolute, if you will, convolute tubing. But anyway, so this has some pretty good heat resistance. I'm not using silicone wire in the servos. It's just regular PVC. You could do silicone in here and it would probably be just as resilient, but it'll give it some protection. But we're gonna run it right through the inside. So we're gonna open up that hole a little bit and we're gonna open up this former here so we can keep this tucked in up above and under that ledge to go all the way back. All right, we have our holes opened up, so now we can just take this and slide this through. We're going to get our wire kind of pre-run through that as well. And that'll go all the way to the back, and then you could peel off this white stuff and it'll stick to the sides. That's really nice, and then we'll track it all the way up front. And then, let's pull this around here. So I've also made these channels for my locking connectors. And I have to cheat towards the front because I don't want to cut this former in here. I don't want to shorten any of this. So those holes were already there for wiring, but I used them and oblonged them out so I can do that. And then I'll have locking connectors so my stabs will come in here and just click into those and they'll all be set into place. So I really like all that. It's time to get to running some wiring. All right, now on our elevators and rudders, we're going to cut off the regular servo connectors. And we're going to put these in. Polarized locking connectors are going to go in the inside of there. That way they click together. I've used these for absolutely forever for all of my projects. This goes, God, way back to when I started this channel, and they've been 100% reliable since then. Have really taken off through the market. A lot of people use these now instead of using regular connectors with the lock over. They're really nice, especially in applications like this where you may want to take that horizontal on and off a few times, but that way everything's secure, nothing's moving around. It's never going to get into a spot where it rubs through on something or melts because something was moving around. Everything will be in place and secured. All right, let's go ahead and get the inserts put in. I'm just using some thick CA here on a toothpick and just enough to wipe some into this housing. Doesn't need to be a crazy amount. I mean, we're only holding in a piece of plastic. There's no structural value here at all. Then I'm going to take my insert and just push that down into place, and we'll let that dry. And we'll pop the center out, then we'll fish the wire through. All right, now we'll get the wire fished through the hole. And now this part, we'll just slide right into there, and we'll push it all the way in to recess it. There you go. So a little drop of CA in there. We'll hold that in there nice. And now I can just click in and out of that connector housing. Let's get the rudder and the other side done. All right, so let's talk about weight savings. Our horizontal and vertical tubes, or our spars, weigh in at 4.23 ounces. I'm going to go with these carbon ones. So we are at 176. And then the main wing tube, or main wing spar, is 14.5. and the one we're going to go with on the inside of there. So that's 5, 3. So ultimately, altogether, we're saving 2.4 in the tail, 9.2 up front. So we're almost 12 ounces total that we've taken out of this aircraft just in those supports. And man, it's going to take a lot in order to break one of those carbon tubes. So really happy with the weight savings there. And then going with the turbine, the 132 should be more than enough power, and we're keeping our weight down as well in the back. Those couple ounces here all the way in the rear of the plane will make a huge difference way up front. So good upgrade. Let's get them in. All right, let's talk about lights and videoing. So sometimes as you work on planes, doing videos is best after the fact, and sometimes you can do it during the process. This is one of those that's better after. So I wanted to put lights in the wings, and it creates quite a challenge because of the wing design. Not only does it sweep back, it sweeps up from the leading edge. So you really kind of have a hard time figuring out what lights and where. So my buddy Ronnie London, I always throw props out to him. I run a lot of things by him. Him and I brainstormed on this numerous times. I was going to have him make up some 3D mounts for me. We got away from that. Went with different lights. So this is the light that I am going with for the wings. So this is obviously the right wing here that I'm doing now. Green and white with the strobe. And I've carved that out to fit my lenses here. And now I've laid all this tape over after the fact to make a template so I can transfer this to the other wing at the exact same spot. So now that I have this all on here, basically I'm going to mark the edge so I know exactly where that wingtip line is. And then I'm resting right against the back in here. So as I transfer it over to the other side, I know that this is going to be opposite, but it'll still get me to the same spot where I can mark it off with a marker, a Sharpie, something, and then slowly start to file using, again, Harbor Freight files, or whether you have, great, drop that one, diamond files, something like that, or the slow push diamond files that look like this. So you could slowly carve away until that lens and light are the perfect fit, and then fish those down in there. So I am going to mix up a little bit of black paint with some Hysol, put that in there, get that stuff working really well, and get the light where I want it, and then let it sit overnight to cure. So for now, let's go ahead and get this off and put on the other wing and mark. All right, we took our template, we have it taped on here, flipped backwards. I put a piece of tape in about the area we're gonna be, and as I lay this template on here, you guys have to bear with me because you're getting the armpit camera hold at the moment. We're gonna take that template and lay that over there. We look a tad high. I'm going to say right there. And again, I don't want to grind away to that full mark. I want to basically start smaller and work my way into that lens. So that's kind of where we're going to be for now. We'll make a couple other measurements to make sure I like it, and then if all goes well, that's where we're going to grind. Don't forget to keep some alcohol on a rag so that way you can wipe off your fingers if need be, and then that paint surface, and use a good light so that way you can see if you got any epoxy prints on that thing. But looks good. All right, there you can see the lens. We'll turn it on. Nice and bright for being, I think those were 7-watt bulbs. So more than ample for this plane in the limited area that we have to work with, but I like that. I'm going to show you guys how we grind the other side. Okay, so once you have your pattern on there the way you like it, I'm just using some diamond carbide bits or Dremel bits with diamond chunks bits, diamond flake, whatever it is. Diamond coated Dremel bits. How about that? Okay, so I have my pattern the way I want. I tape off, push that down to prevent flaking, and then we're going to go ahead and grind in there. As I said before, my buddy Ronnie gave me a tip for those little hand files, but I've also liked these Harbor Freight files. We're not going up and down. You're running those this way along the way, and they're doing this to help oval it, because if you do this it just eats the paint off, but if you do this it works out great. So anyway, let's get to God, I hate doing this. Let's get to cutting this open. All right, so we have our laser set up, and we're going to put in our top beacon light or anti-collision light. I was really kind of stuck like here, there, and really, I mean, it really is up to you guys wherever you want to put it. I opted for here based on where they should be, but also what works in my model. I have a smoke tank up here. I have that insulation filling in here. I have space here. I could go back up here, but I liked it there, and in between I'm going to do the other one down here, right kind of in the center bottom. People very often ask about what laser I use or where I get it. That thing is just simply a Home Depot or a Lowe's budget Black Friday laser. It's nothing special. Comes with a bunch of different adapters, and right now I have it on a camera tripod stand just clipped there. But I have that laser shot over that latch assembly up into the center of my rudder, so I know here where center is. So we're going to go ahead and Dremel in there, install the light. We're going to Dremel down into that pocket and install that light, and let them set up. All right, there you go. There's the top one. Blinky, blinky. And there's our bottom one. So nice and bright. If you're curious as to which ones I use there, hopefully that helps you. Lens looks a little foggy. That's better, I think, maybe. But anyway, that's the uni light number for you if you need it. And that one is for that one down there. You can use the same one. It's really the same one. It's just in a different format for up here. That one I've had laying around for a while. But now we're going to start to work on the routing and the wiring on the inside. Now that we have all those, we're going to get those laid in there. And once the wires are done, we're going to clean up the wiring towards the back for the rudder. We're going to pop off this tape and get this thing sealed to the side of the fuse. And then I think it's time to drop in our turbine and our thrust tube. But we also have some wing work to get done. I don't know where that's going to wind up in the video edits. But it is time to get in that wiring, linkages, servos, and retracts. So we still have a good bit to do over here on the front. Got to pull all that wiring in. We got to put our snake skin on the inside of there to protect it, route it through, get the nose installed, get our fuel tanks done and routed. But we can't do that until we get the wiring finished up there. So a good bit of the cleanup stuff to do, but we're coming along. This really comes along in chunks. So here we go. For the wing connectors, we have lights, we have ailerons, we have flaps, we have gear, we have brakes, and we have another light. So for landing lights, so we need a total of 12 pins. How I'm going to do that is using the polarized connectors. I made this groove in here in this channel, so these things I can glue in, and that way we can't get them wrong. They'll sit pretty far in like that, so they're stable, just a little bit sticking out. We'll get the other one in there like that, and that's how those things will sit. And that way we clip in, it's a positive lock. I don't personally, just me, wings, everything moves, and I don't want the pressure of another connector into this one bending, flexing between the two and spreading the pins. So I use these, and then we will use, let me grab the other end. I will just use a harness with this type of connector, and then this part of the polarized will just click in like that and stay there. And then when I'm done and I slide the wing back, I can unclip, and then this will be on, you know, a wired harness going back. That way we don't have the flexing in between there. This is solid, and it's supporting this piece as we click in. And the bottom one is a different size, so there's only one way they're going to go, one way they're going to fit, and I'm not going to get anything connected backwards as far as reverse ailerons or anything else. So let me start time-lapsing, and I will show you guys how I did that. All right, so let's start off by marking some reference points. We're going from the back forward, so I am just going to make a rough mark there at center, and there at center. All right, and I've been using these polarized connectors, God, for years now. I get them from Hanson Hobbies online in case you're interested. And I order them by bulk, but I use them for all the connectors that have to come apart and go back together, so I don't need locks. Now what I did here is I'm recessing all the way into the fat part of the body. Sometimes I'll just do the skinny, but I have a space issue, so I want to sink this into there as much as possible. And now that I have the edge marked and a center line, I put the connector right there on that center line, and now I'm just going to outline it. All right, now that the bottom one is done, I'm going to go ahead and do the top one. And again, I put the fat part this way, so I know how wide there I need to go. All right, so there's the rough outline of our connector housing. So let's go get the cutting. Before we slide our wing on, we're going to take a piece of tape. Put that right there. Slide this on. All right. Now that the wing is on, we'll take it around. We're going to go in from the inside and just trace my pattern. All right. Then there you can see the pattern I'm going to grind out. I'm going to grind it out a little bit bigger than that so that connector doesn't rub if that wing flexes. All right, our hole is ovaled and ready for us to start putting all of the wiring for our servos, flaps, retracts, lights, navigation lights, all of that now can come through here, and we can put them on those polarized connectors, connect into the bodies here, run our wiring up, and it'll be nice and clean and no mistakes as far as getting things plugged together the right way. So this is the first that I'm going to show you guys the lights. Yeah, call me lazy. I don't know. I'm not going to make brackets and put lights in here and everything else. We are going to pull this through into here around the back side, something like this, and then that thing is going to get glued into place like that. So this little stick light is going to be nice. It's going to be minimalistic, and I'm okay with all of that. So let me see if I can pull that into place. Something like in here is how it's going to go. Maybe put in a piece of wood that sticks out and put that on there, or just right off of these edges. Maybe I'll come around the top instead. But these are uni lights, nice super bright white lights, and I don't have to get real crazy with lenses and trying to get people to 3D print me stuff and everything else. So anyway, yep, that's what we're going to do. So let's get all this tidied up, get our wire routing in there held down, put this down, we're good. All right, there's our outside of wing number 1 finished. We're going to go ahead and tidy up the connectors and put on our polarized ends, so that'll be done. But otherwise, let's put that up and show you the inside. So there you can see our light. That's just epoxied in. I tried using thermal paste and it just didn't hold to my liking, so I went with epoxy. We'll see how that works. And we used aluminum tape to hold our wiring for our brake and our light into here. This is all loose and just tucked underneath, so it's flexible, and then some simple hot glue to run that edge for not only some protection but to hold it in place. That's run down and tucked along the side, so that way the wire has space to clear here and here. And that is the retracts, lights, brakes, servos, flaps, and nav lights and strobe lights out at the end. So we are pretty done with this, like I said, except for this. We're going to get that cleaned up, so let's do that. All right, so we have our lighting control module. We put that platform in there. I'm working at wiring up lights first. That way we can glue in the wing connectors, so that way we know everything works. Basically, I mean, I just use servo wire for connections for my uni lights. We just need to figure out which one. Here's my nav lights. So here's this one. And I'm using Molex connectors. These are Molex connectors. You can find these on Amazon if you're using uni lights. You can just make your own. They're not using anything more than that. So, and I'm just making sure that I give myself a little bit of slack to make sure that things can lay appropriately. And once I have it, we cut it. Again, strip it. I don't like using wire strippers on 22 gauge because I think you pull some of the strands apart. Come on. When you crimp it or cut it and pull it. So if you're going to use wire cutters to do this, or wire strippers, that's okay, but just make sure that you're just cut and release. Don't cut and pull, because then you're actually getting rid of some of the wiring, and you don't want to do that. So once I have them stripped, roll them up. Because the eyes are getting older, and because I like to be very precise and make sure that things are crimped right, we use the glasses. This way I can see to make sure that I'm putting everything exactly where it needs to be, and we're not crimping insulation, that we're just crimping wire. Now we'll get these two set in. So this is going to be for the strobe. There. And there. And then this one is for the nav. So we click those in there. And then basically when we go ahead and we power up, let me plug in my controller. So that powers up the Unilight, and then you need to power up the controller to it, which would normally be a switch on the receiver to a certain percentage or duty cycle. I use this little blue box for that, and that'll get things humming right along. And then we can take our connectors down on the board, and you can see what the lights are doing. So if it's solid, that one's going to be her nav there, and then the other one is the strobe. Now we should get blinky, so let me show you what that looks like. There you go. So now we know that all the harness is good from here to there, there, up to here, and that's wired in. So let's go ahead and get our others wired in. All right, controller's done, wired in there. Not final wiring is done, but there you can see our upper anti-collision. Get our lower anti-collision. Landing gear lights look really good, nice and bright. So if you're back, I think those things are perfect. And I didn't have to hack apart the leading edge of the wing. And I'm not, I don't like other manufacturers, how they have that big piece of plastic then that just sits on there. It's just not my style. And then you can see how good those look. So super ecstatic with the time we spent on the lights and how it turned out. I love it. It'll be a nice piece at the field. All right, guys, and there you have it. Brendan here at Gator RC. That wraps up this segment of the TopRc Model Odyssey build or assembly. 86-inch turbine jet Xicoy 132 Frsky receivers and servos for guidance. AR smoothflite gyro in this thing. Holy smokes, smoke system. Links to everything down below. This is my second turbine jet, so moving up out of the Sebart Mini Avanti. If you haven't seen any of that series, great jet to get introduced into turbines. You will find all of those videos on my Just Plain Crazy channel. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this segment. Again, links down in the description below for all of the gear that I put into this thing. If you enjoyed what you just watched, smash that thumbs up. If you're going to give me one of these because I'm so bad, definitely give me 2 of those. Like, share, subscribe. It helps the channels grow immensely on both the Gator and Just Plain Crazy YouTube channels. And we also share tons of great stuff. You will find all kinds of good information on the Facebook side of things as well for Just Plain Crazy and the Gator RC. And if maybe turbines aren't your cup of tea and you're looking for a nice balsa ARF warbird or even a composite warbird, Gator's a one-stop hobby shop, direct distributor for TopRc models, Seagulls models, and Sebart models. So I'm sure there's something there covered, uncovered, you can find a liking for. So with that being said, guys, I got to get on to the rest of this series so I can show you how it got to this point. So I'm out. I will see you later, alligator.